So today we're going to be talking about the why. And why is it important to know about the why? So, are you ready? Should we make it happen? Should we turn up our unconscious mind into the receiver it should be? The part of us which is going to generate our goals and really motivate us? This is how we're going to do it. So today I'm going to talk to you about the why. Now, what is the why? The why is why you do what you do, whether it be in a negative sense, why we run depression, why we run anxiety, and also, which my main focus today will be, the why is important to getting your ideal life in every area of your life. So the why is our motivation. Now, that usually comes down to values that we have on the inside. So for those who have a high value for money, the chances are they're going to be able to be really motivated, and they'll be like the entrepreneur people, they'll be the real A-game players when it comes to businesses. They can be very motivated around money. Now, it doesn't have to be the case to be that way, but it's definitely a part of the process. And we have a high value for money, but we can also have a high value for money in a negative way. So the fear attached to it. I don't want to be in debt. So if that's your value, you're usually moving just out of debt so you feel comfortable. So other values could be things such as success. Now, success is one that I really hold highly. I want to be able to get success for you. I want success for me. I want to have a successful business. I want to have success in all that I do. So success is a real big one. For other people, it could be things like love is a high value, and they'll be very different depending on the situation, or the area of life. So if you have love in business, that's awesome, because that means you're going to be having the reason and the why to find love in what you do. And it could be in relationships, so they will begin to pass over to different areas or be in different areas. But also, depending on the area of your life that you're thinking of right now, your values will be different from other areas of life. So just so you know, the why is really the driving force as to why we do what we do. Because if there is no why, there's no point in doing it. And even if we look throughout society, and we look to those people who have come from a situation where it wasn't a good place, where they maybe were brought up in poverty, or they've had traumatic experiences, they begin to go on the inside, dig deep, and find the why to change their environment, to change their situation. So if you don't have the why in your goal, the chances are you're not even going to touch that goal, you're not going to dig deep, you're not going to achieve your desires because it's just not strong enough. Now, you have to begin to build up the why. So if you consider the issue that you may be experiencing right now in your life, and you consider the goal or the outcome that you would like to achieve, if there's more reasons why to keep the issue, and we've talked about this in the past, about positive intentions and so on, as to why we do what we do and keep issues. But if we have more energy on the why we should stay stuck, the excuses, if your why is, I'm like this because of the economy, because of my past, because what someone did to me, that gives you the reason to stay the same. However, on the flip side of it, you have the why you really want to let go of an issue, or how you want to be different. The why which drives you away from your present situation, away from the debt, away from the trauma, away from the depression, where you do whatever it takes. Now, I was just looking online today, and I was just trying to look throughout. I'm just on the website here, and if you look at some like celebrities, they did not have all the greatest experience. Like Leonardo DiCaprio, he was living in LA surrounded by drugs and prostitution. Yet he got himself out of the situation. Why? Because otherwise you can go down that route and be in that situation. But he had a stronger why to get out of it. Even like Jim Carrey, we've got Tom Cruise, we've got Hilary Swank, we've got I think I just said Jim Carrey. We got Demi Moore, Shania Twain, J.K. Rowling. She was on welfare, she was on benefits, but she had a why. Now that why can come through passion, like the why to write a book. It might not be about money, but the why is one of those things which is going to make you move. If you don't have a why in your life, you're not going to have that momentum. The why creates the energy. The why allows you to thrive. Now, I was also looking about other examples. So we've got people like, let's see, the Howard Schultz of Starbucks grew up in a housing complex for the poor. His net worth is $2.9 billion now. $2.9 billion. And then you got people like Oprah Winfrey. She was born into poverty, and now we know that in fact, it says here, $3 billion. We've got people throughout the world who are doing things, who have been in bad situations, have had trauma, have been abused, have been used, have had fear, worries, and doubts, and all those things. And yet there was a why inside of them. There was a value, there was a why, which caused them to stand up and do something different. If you don't have the why when it comes to wanting to let go of the issue, you're not going to make the change. So we have to consider, why is it important to be free of your issue? Because if the why is not there right now, the chances are that is why you are in your present situation. Because of course, you might be going through your journey, you might be investing money, you might have a coach, you might have a supporter, someone to ask questions to, or to get the advice for the self-development and everything like that. You might be going through that process, which is awesome, and I have absolute profound gratitude for that. But for other people on here, and I don't mind being kind of strong enough to say these things, because at the end of the day, I want you to make the changes that you want. That you, if that's something that you want, and that you're now prepared, you're in a situation. I mean, have you ever been like this, where you just feel this need, this desire that something has to change? You might not know how to let go of it. You might not know the reasons as to why you have the situation, or how life took you to this place. But there's that small part of you wanting to now stand up and be counted for. There's that small voice on the inside, despite what society says, despite what your own internal dialogue has been maybe telling you all this time, that you can't do this, that you're not good enough, that you're not worthy. But maybe there's that 1% of you which is now starting to wake up and consider that there is a better way of living this life, that there is emotional freedom around the corner, that there is learnings out there which can allow you to grow and to shine in this world, that there is a part of you which is just ready to creep into existence and to do whatever it takes to make the change. That is what I want to tap into today, because if you do not have even that 1% of the why, there is no, and I mean this, there's no value as to your unconscious mind supporting you. Because if it's not important to you, then it's not important to your unconscious mind. It's going to keep on doing what it's always done, because there's more reasons as to stay the same. Now, I remember specifically a client I was working with, and when this person came to see me, they had relationship issues, and it was actual physical abuse, mental abuse. And for this person, there wasn't a why. They just felt as if they couldn't be bothered to do anything. In fact, it wasn't like they were going through this trauma, but they just did not want to change at the same time. Now, it sounds very counterintuitive. I mean, if you're going through trauma, you'd want to change. But despite her obviously turning up, so there was that part of the why that she wanted to change, that she wanted to be there. She booked the session. She wanted to pay me money to help her. So I began to set out a few of the tasks as to certain things that she can do in throughout the sessions. And she came back to me one week, the week after our session, and I thought it was a pretty good session. I usually get my results in 1 or 2 sessions, or maybe 4 or 5 at the most, but she came back, I was pretty pleased, and she came back to me and said, well, I actually asked her a question. I said, well, did you do my tasks? Because I set up tasks for my client. I want to make sure they're doing things throughout the week. I want to make sure they're holding themselves accountable. And she said to me, no, Joseph, I did not do that. I thought it was a silly task to do. And it was pretty much just writing down some thoughts that she was having throughout the week. But she said to me it was absolutely silly. And in that moment, I actually said, well, I'm afraid, as I discussed on the first session, that it's really important to do the tasks. If you don't do the tasks, I will not be seeing you in the next session. And I actually turned her away. I turned her away because she thought the process, she thought the idea of doing something which was slightly different was not worth it. That she was not willing to put the effort in, no matter, and it was an easy process, guys. It was super easy, but it wasn't something that she felt of value to her. So her face was like completely, oh, what do you mean? And the interesting thing is, no one had pulled her up on this before. She'd seen other therapists for years on end. I think it was around 8 or so therapists over like 10, 12 years. And I was probably the first one to say, look, that's not cutting it with me. I'm not in the business to keep you stuck. I'm in the business to keep you accountable, to keep myself accountable, and to get you to where you want to be. And you should have seen her face. Her face just dropped completely because it was a wake-up call to her. And I said, look, when you're ready to change and you're really finding that why it's important to now wake up, come back to me. We'll talk about it. I'll set you another couple of tasks just to make sure that you're on the right thing. And you know what? I didn't hear back from her for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It was probably about 2 months. And one day I get a phone call out of the blue, and she just said to me, look, I apologize. I didn't realize it at the time, but I thought that what you were doing was just not going to get me my outcome. And I just thought, I'm just going to just deal with my present situation. I'm okay with that. And then one day she woke up and she just said, actually, I've just noticed that I've been doing this all my life. I've been being this way and not putting the work in, not really finding the motivation. It was almost like that motivation of just booking up a session, going to the other therapists and just going through the motions was satisfying her situation. It was satisfying her need to make that small change by just showing up. Not changing at all, really, but it was one of those wake-up calls to her because I refused to see her. And like I said, you should have seen her face. I pretty much opened the door and told her to leave my office. And like I said, a few months later, she was like, I now get this. I now understand this. And one of my tasks were to find more whys. Why is it important for you to change as a person? Think about it right now. Why is it important? How is it going to impact your emotional health, your physical well-being, your relationships, your career, your finances, your day-to-day living, your experience, to just finally give up that fear or that stress in your life, that conflict in your life? Now, there should be no greater why than the absolute desire to change that situation, to be free of the conflict. Like I said, forget the how. First, we need to get that why. Why is it important? Are you prepared to carry on being the way you've always been, doing the same old past habits, being that way that just causes the repetition of more stress and more conflict? Now, for those people who do not want that, I'm at peace with that. And to be honest, they're probably at peace with that. They're okay staying the same. And it's not my job and it's not your job to change that person, because I really believe in that free will, that we've got to want to make the change, very much like my past client. And when we got to the work, she flew by. She made the most transformational success that I've probably ever seen, because she was willing to wake up to that situation. She found more why in herself, the desire to be free, to lift the chains of being held down by the depression, the low self-esteem, the worry and the anxiety. And that's what we have to do. We have to wake up to the fact that if we're able, or if we're wanting to change, we must be the change maker. Yes, find someone who will support you. Find someone who can help you get there. But the initial thing that we must do before we even start working with someone, even before you start listening to my hypnosis things, you have to dig deep and go realize that, look, something's got to change and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. It might not be easy, by the way. It might be hard. It might be a bit stressful. I mean, for example, imagine you're working with someone and they said to you, look, it's going to take 3 months of working hard, but you're going to get your outcome. It might be a bit stressful. You might go through those testing times. You might feel like crying. You might break down every day. You might break down for 3 months. But you know what? At the end of those 3 months, you'll be free. I think everyone would jump at the chance to even go through that process of hard work and even breaking down, even feeling as if, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But just to make that decision, that would allow you to be free in 3 months. I'm sure all of us would put our hands up right now and go, look, sign me up. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make that change. That's where we have to get ourselves on the mental level. So I'm not saying that change is easy. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not here to lie to you. I'm not here just to make you feel better about, oh, the changes can be magical. Because by the way, they can be magical. When I work with people, usually, like I said, it can be 1, 2, 4, 5 sessions at the very most, but usually 4 at the most. I believe in magical change. I've seen them happen. I've worked with people and I've seen people have phobias. I mean, you've probably seen the TV clip I was on in TV in England and let go of phobias in 5 minutes. Like crazy phobias in 5 minutes. It's on my YouTube channel. I've seen those changes because the processes work, what I do and what other people do in the same kind of things that I do. I mean, there's many practitioners out there. But we have to wake up to the fact that, yeah, it can be hard. It doesn't have to be easy. Who said it should be easy? All I can say is it's far harder being in conflict. It's far harder to feel the emotional stress. If you've got a driving phobia, it's harder to live with that driving phobia compared to putting in the work for a week, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and so on. It's harder to live with the self-doubt or the limiting belief compared to putting in the work. So we have to be able to put into the work. And now, as I said, find the why. Find the why, we will begin to look for what we want. If we have to figure out and dig deep as to what it's going to get me, how is it going to allow me to be different? What's going to happen when I make the change? How is it going to affect my family? How is it going to affect my relationship, having made that change? How is it going to affect my connection with who I am in this world, to living, imagine like if you're just free of this issue and you just have that pure love for yourself, that self-worth, that I'm capable and I'm worthy. When we begin to think about the why and we position ourselves from our present mindset into the why, just like the people I read off on the computer, all the billionaires in this world, the entrepreneurs, the celebrities who were in a bad situation, who struggled through life, who went through, some of us, they could have gone through far worse than us. There's always someone out there who's probably gone through something worse than you and actually overcome it. There might not be many, but the chances are there's one person who's gone in and been in a worse situation and overcome it. On the most part, anyway, I think we can all tentatively agree that that would be the case. And if that means, if someone has done that, and I said this yesterday, I was on here yesterday, right? I said about Viktor Frankl, and you should read the book Man's Search for Meaning. It's an awesome book. It's a very, kind of really hits you here. Because he was in the concentration camps and he came up with that phrase, that quote of, when you're unable to change your situation, you are challenged to change yourself. That is the why. That is giving up the reasons as to staying the way you are. That is the motivation to let go of the excuses. We have to put in the work. We have to put in the energy. And sometimes, you know what? We have to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes I am personally not working as hard as I should be. But then when I catch myself in that, I begin to look at, why am I doing what I'm doing right now? I've got a purpose inside of me. There's just my own personal purpose, but I want to help as many people as possible. I just have that feeling inside. That is one of my highest values, like success. I want to be able to help people to get them to where they want to be and to really support them in that process of being free of their issue. That's just me personally. But when I catch myself and realize that deeper purpose, which is a why, that's why I do what I do. And if you begin to look for your purpose as to why you want to change, like the energy, the motivation, the drive behind it, you begin to make changes. You begin to allow yourself to see new opportunities. That is what we have to do, guys. You have to find the why. You have to look on the inside and look for what it will get you having made that change. Forget about the how. The how comes later. You don't need the how right now. You need, there's hows out there. For instance, you've got my podcasts, you've got my hypnosis tracks, you've got mind mastery, where you get to speak to me and I get to coach you in person or online on the internet and so on. You've got other people in your life already, other coaches in the world. You've got books out there. There's plenty of hows. You might not find the right one as quickly as you want, but there are plenty of reasons as to how you can change. That is what we have to do. It's not... Let me just read a few of these comments. So I don't think the financial success of fame means that they found their why, does it? It doesn't necessarily mean they found their why, but what I would say is this is where they were, that present situation. And many people on the entrepreneur side, they want to escape that. This is just from my research and autobiographies and other entrepreneurs I've worked with over the past. They wanted to change their situation. It doesn't mean they fulfilled it, by the way, because we can be misguided. Let's think about the whole, let's say a celebrity. They want that celebrity life, but we know in the media, it's not always the best life. It might get lots of good things, but there are downsides to everything. So it doesn't have to be financial success. It doesn't have to be anything when it comes to that. Their why could be doing their passion, doing their craft. So to be that actor, to enjoy being in that moment as an actor, even in business. And I've worked, like I said, with entrepreneurs in the past. Their mindset is not about money most of the time. It's about usually providing a service, yes, to get freedom to support their family, but they're usually passionate about providing services, and that's why they do charity work. That's why they give to companies or to charities and so on. The why we don't want to mind read into the personal's whys, but that why inside of us is a thing that we need to make a change. That is where we begin to find the motivation. Now, for some of you, it'll be the why for me is I want to feel absolutely worthy. I want to be able to feel good enough. I want to feel capable. Because then you begin to feel your own values. For other people, it could be just to feel love for themselves. It could be peace and contentment. It could be money. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with money. There's lots of entrepreneurs out there who give so much money to charities, who become ambassadors for charities and put in the work. And without those people maybe enjoying money at first, that wouldn't have been the case. Sometimes the first why, like maybe the money situation, leads to the great why of service to people. So the whys will change, the values will change as we go through our journey, but the whys have to really begin to be the driving force. It has to allow us to be the thing which moves us forward. And yeah, if you found the whys and you're not presently getting the results that you want. I mean, the whys is really the mental game. So the whys are things like the desire, the motivation, the drive, the passion, the fuel. And then you have to match with the actions. You have to start doing things. The first thing might not work. The second thing might work. You know what? The 10,000 thing won't work. I mean, what's the quote with Edison? Was it 10,000 attempts of making the light bulb? And when he asked, someone asked him, you failed 10,000 times? And he just pretty much said something like, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways of how not to do it, which got me closer to, I don't know, the quote was like that anyway. It's almost like the reframe, the journey happens, the steps happen. Yeah, there are very quick ways out there, but we have to begin to start finding that why first and then begin to make the changes. So I hope you enjoyed that today. It is very important because that is the motivation. That is why I do what I do. I've got that why for me is the passion. For my client, in the end, I can't quite remember her why, but her why was probably, just thinking about it, was that she was sick and tired of living the same story. You know, like I said, the wake-up call for her when she actually got sent out of the therapy room and got called out for that. She realized that wake-up inside of us, inside of her, which you have inside of you too, that little voice which is now ready to wake up, that realizes that something has to change and there's more important ways of being the way I want to. That is what we have to do. We have to look for those whys. We have to dig deep and then act upon them. You will find the way to change. There are very affordable ways of changing. There's support out there. There are things that you can pay for. There are free things online. There are things that you can do. Yes, it can take time, but there are things that we can do. When we get the why, we're going to get the success. Each step along the way is the journey. Each step we keep moving forward. Research online of people who have made changes, who have been in situations like you. Notice their mentality, notice what they did, and do whatever it takes to replicate that or to dig deep and find new ways of being. You can't change if you're doing the same thing. You cannot be different if you keep doing the same thing over and over again. If you feel as if the reasons, the excuses that we tell ourselves, the stories that we tell ourselves, if you are now ready to wake up to that and go, look, I'm tired of this story. I know I was tired of that story. In fact, all my clients who work with me, even if I was like talking to a few of the Mind Mastery members on email, they are tired of their issue and they're ready to do whatever it takes to make that change. I've been there. Many people have been there. Now we have to be there as a team to make that happen. Find the why, find the reason. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to keep on recording on the audio for the Mind Mastery members, but I hope you enjoyed that, and I really look forward to speaking to you next week. I'm pretty much done for the Facebook Live and Periscopes for this week. I'll be on doing the live coaching of Mind Mastery tomorrow for all the Mind Mastery members who have just joined up this week. And this is, if you're interested in that, go to josephclough.info/mindmastery and you can be a part of the live call, speak to me in person, and we'll be able to coach you to where you want to be. There's loads of cool things there. You get everything that I ever do. It's awesome. But I'm not here to sell that, but just realize that you are capable to do whatever you want. So have the most wonderful day, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. So goodbye.